Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Cloud Academy platform demonstration. My name is Jermaine Herndandez. I am a sales engineer here at Cloud Academy. I am coming to you live from Austin, Texas, so you might hear me say y'all a couple times. Please don't hold that against Cloud Academy as a whole. Our agenda today is actually pretty straightforward. We just went through our greetings. I'm going to jump right into the demo. But the most important thing to know up front is to please ask questions in the chat box. I have a partner with me that will be helping communicate those questions to me to be sure that I get those answered. In fact, my job is to answer your questions, so help keep me employed, y'all. There's the first one. With that, we can go ahead and jump into the demonstration. So what you're currently seeing is our administrative panel within the Cloud Academy platform. Just so we're all on the same page, I'm going to start with the administrative features. This is going to include reporting. I'll then transition to the end user side to be sure that you can see exactly what your end users and learners would be experiencing. And lastly, we can talk all about customization. And with that, we can go ahead and get started. A fairly recent addition to our platform better organized the process in which we get this platform up and running. So the very first step before we begin focusing on training is going to be the organization panel. Now, how you manage and combine your members into various teams is completely up to you. This could be by job role or function, certain certification initiatives, perhaps even skill level, or we could even do a true representation of your organizational hierarchy, which does include sub-teams nestled within other teams. Now, some of you on the call may or may not be administrators of the system. What's important to note about the administrator? The administrator is responsible for provisioning licenses, organizing members into teams, assigning training, and perhaps most importantly, they have access to the data across the entire organization. This is a direct comparison to the two additional roles that we're going to see within the teams themselves. So a team member, which is simply your end users, your learners, and a team manager. We can think of our team managers as a small scale administrator. This is one of the ways that we help spread the work and responsibility around. For any team that somebody's listed as a manager, they have the ability to edit the team, assign training, and view data for that team. So very similar to an administrator. Once we have all of our team members organized into their appropriate teams, we're ready to go to the next tab, as I mentioned, which is going to be an emphasis on training. Before training can even begin, we at Cloud Academy really believe that any high quality education really begins with a robust assessment. So I'll actually show you our out of the box assessments. These come in two types, a written exam format and a hands-on lab, in this case considered a challenge. You might notice the written exams, we really do not want to discourage end users from accessing the system. So these are a little bit more concise and to the point. We'll measure a few core areas. The hands-on labs, these challenge labs are completely unguided. We're going to put the lab environment in front of your end user and say, show us you can complete steps 1, 2, and 3 without any help. Ultimately, these assessments are capturing a baseline understanding of where skills lie today, which is being fed directly into our skill profile that I'll show you here shortly. But once assessments are captured, even if you're taking a multi-cloud vendor approach, we're going to immediately help you identify both skill gaps and strengths. So you can see which platform you might need a little bit more emphasis on and which domains you might need to focus on in the short term. And of course, in case you're curious, you can see where you are strongest in strengths. Ultimately, the other piece that is going to be very insightful and helpful will be that both administrators and team managers will have access to the individual user assessment scores. So in particular, we're concerned about outliers here. Somebody scored very low, they might need a little bit more foundational or fundamental work. Somebody got a perfect score, they might be ready for something more advanced. Once we've captured these assessments, we're ready then to begin prescribing the appropriate training, which is going to be a training plan. The training plan feature is the accountability piece that's worked into the platform. A training plan, just so I'm clear, is the mechanism of delivery for various learning paths. I'll show you what a learning path is through the end user side, but the training plan can be assigned either to an entire team or to an individual member. I'm going to show you how easy it is to assign it to an entire team as a whole. I'm going to stick to that same Acme Partners team that we were looking at earlier. And now what you're seeing are our out-of-the-box training plans. If you've customized any of them, you'll see that tagged where appropriate. You can also very easily filter by a variety of topics across the top. So perhaps we are doing a multi-cloud starter here to first focus. And this third step is where we can really begin focusing and emphasizing accountability. We're going to provide to you two metrics: the content duration for that training plan and average time to completion. From there, team managers or administrators can set expectations for a weekly commitment to learning. So you can simply adjust this slider. Or if you're planning for a project, you can then set a due date. Perhaps we need to be ready by September 1st. Now we're seeing what weekly commitment it would take to ensure that we're ready by this date. Lastly, the training objectives. This is where we're communicating the value and the importance to our end users. And just to be sure we're on the same page, team managers can also be included in this assignment of the training plan in case you want to follow along or just do a little bit of a refresher. Ultimately, what will make these training plans so unique to us is going to be the ability to stack these training plans. So we can truly create a sequence to maintain a momentum towards learning. So I'll go ahead and assign a second training plan here. Perhaps now we're going to focus on the security engineering, specifically within AWS. We have these again. And while that loads, you'll then see that we're going to see the first training plan using today's date along with that deadline we set together. So as users are completing this initial training plan, even if it's well in advance of this deadline, they will seamlessly transition into the very next training plan. Quite a few of our customers, in fact, are planning out for a full calendar year in advance to really keep up that momentum. The last couple of pieces that I'll mention regarding training plans is, of course, we're going to help you track and maintain progress. So for starters, individual users will receive a weekly recap email. Team managers will get a similar email communicating progress of the overall team. However, we can provide some additional insight so we can track the individual user's progress along with how they're tracking against that deadline we set together. End users will receive a maximum of 3 nudges per training plan, but we can also come in here and send a manual nudge. You'll then be able to see the stock language and adjust and add anything that you would like and send it through the email. So what we've done so far is organize our members into teams, captured a baseline understanding of assessments to identify skill gaps, and then prescribe the appropriate training. As a reminder, please feel encouraged to put any questions into the chat box. But from here, we're then ready to focus on the reporting. So there's been some time spent in the platform by your end users. They've been consuming content. What does it ultimately lead to? The first report I'll introduce you to is going to be the analytics. The analytics are really a consumption metric. What will make this helpful to you is going to be the ability to drill down across various learning activities. And the leaderboard down here will actually update with us. So what I mean by that is we're currently seeing the leaderboard in terms of overall consumption. But if instead we want to focus on exams, I can click on exams, and now I'm seeing any user that has taken any exam. I can still take it one step further, and perhaps we're focusing on this AZ500 certification exam. I can see which one of my end users have taken that exam along with some high-level statistics. And the part that is most highly utilized by a number of our clients will be this last score. Especially in the event that you provide vouchers for your end users to take the real exam, a lot of our customers are setting a threshold. So they'll tell their employees, show us you can get at least a 90 within Cloud Academy, and then we can provide that voucher for you to take the real exam. The other reporting we're going to see is going to be the skill profile, and this is going to be a true differentiator for us here at Cloud Academy. So as you might recall, the assessments were capturing a baseline understanding of where skills lie today. As your end users are consuming additional exams, quizzes, and labs, how those skills are growing and changing are being validated. We once more have an organizational leaderboard, but by far what will make this so incredibly powerful is the ability to drill down across a variety of topics. So that could be across various platforms. Before, we saw a few core domains were assessed, but now we're seeing a far more exhaustive list of cloud domains, concepts, or even software and tools such as Docker, Ansible, Kubernetes. So just like before, I can drill down into various topics, say AWS in this case. Then I'm seeing how I'm performing across all of the platform domains within AWS, but I can still take it one step further and say focus on security for AWS. Now what this is going to show me is any platform subdomains and services and how we're scoring across those. We're also seeing exactly how our security AWS skills have grown. And we're seeing our top AWS security users within our organization. So in this case, Claude has been doing an exceptional job. Might be good for him to mentor some of the newer folks. Conversely, we can also help you differentiate across different teams. So in particular, if you're looking for some guidance in assigning the right team to the right project to ensure that you're leveraging their strengths, this is going to be a fantastic starting point. That is our administrative panel in a nutshell. From here, I am now going to transition to the end user pieces I mentioned. So let's go ahead and take a look at what these folks will be seeing. So as you're seeing on my screen, we're seeing the end user dashboard. So they'll be able to monitor and track their own training plans and how they're progressing. As a little bit of gamification and encouragement for your team members to keep up with one another, they'll see a training plan leaderboard for their team. Once assessments are assigned, they'll be able to begin them here. The activity tab will definitely have a Netflix feel to it, continue watching, or a recommendation engine based on your consumption. And a fairly new feature is the ability to bookmark either content or explanations following an exam. We'll see what that looks like here shortly. The last pieces that I'll mention about the dashboard are going to be our mobile app. So whenever all of us can begin to commute once again, we have an app for both iOS and Android, so you can consume our courses, exams, and quizzes on the go. Another fairly recent addition is the ability to self-assign a training plan. So this is particularly useful for end users that perhaps come to love our platform and content, but they want to learn and study something that they might not be using in their day-to-day work life. This gives them the ability to self-assign and progress on their own time. Ultimately, the most important feature of the dashboard, however, is going to be the individual user's skill profile. Previously, we saw the skill profile from an organizational perspective, so that 1,000-foot view. This in particular is where we want to empower Michael to take control and handle of his own upskilling. So just like before, they can differentiate across the exact same topics. They'll also have access to a leaderboard, which, by the way, if this is going to cause issues, this can be suppressed. But one way that this leaderboard can especially be helpful is, for example, I can see I'm not very strong within AWS. So I can click on AWS. The leaderboard will only show me the top 10 users and my relation to them. So this will tell Michael who he can turn to for some guidance, ask some questions. From here, I'm going to transition to the training library, and there was actually a question about skills, about score, so we might be able to talk about that here in a second. But what's important to note about our training library is that it is public facing. So I highly encourage all of you on the call today to go ahead and peruse our content at your leisure. And something that I myself am pretty proud of here at Cloud Academy is we try to be as transparent as possible regarding our content roadmap. So you can actually see what was just released within the last 90 days, along with what is coming soon. Our categories over on the left-hand side, you'll see that all of our content is organized by those categories. So public cloud vendors and Alibaba. You're also going to see things like emerging tech and even things like DevOps. A recent addition here also added categories based on job function. And I'll show you what that looks like here a little bit later. But for now, I'm going to drill down into AWS. So this number on the right is telling us all of the different learning activities that we have in support of AWS. And here are all of those different learning activities. I mentioned a lab challenge earlier. This is completely unguided, as you might recall. What we're about to see in a learning path is going to be a guided lab. But I did want to point out, we do have a variety of a third option for a lab, which is going to be a generic lab playground. This is going to be a fantastic way for you to practice those newfound skills. For now, I'm going to focus on the learning paths. Perhaps we have a fairly aggressive AWS certification goal that we're trying to meet. So if we're trying to upskill and get some solution architects on our team, I can then select the learning path. As I mentioned, courses, exams, quizzes can be consumed via apps. You can send it directly to your phone. Here's where we can bookmark this learning path if we think we might want to come back to it later. And of course, some high-level statistics. Now, regarding the question for scores, I believe you're asking about these CPE credits, and it's completely up to you whether or not you'd like to tie these learning paths to CPE credits within your organization. In the center, we're seeing an overall intended audience, learning objectives, and upon completion, we'll also provide you with a Cloud Academy Certificate of Excellence. If we keep scrolling down, however, we'll then see all of the different steps that make up this learning path. So I'll begin by jumping into a course. Our courses are instructor-led, so you might see them on the screen from time to time. You might see them drawing diagrams. But what's important to note about courses is we know that your end users don't want to receive a 2-hour video and be expected to see it in one sitting. So instead, what we've done is we've broken the courses down into smaller, more bite-sized modules, as we call them, so they can better plan for how much time they can dedicate to coursework. And on top of all of that, this is going to have a phenomenal effect on the ability to search our library. So if you're specifically looking for a course on static website hosting, you can search for this and pull up this exact 8-minute course. We can, of course, speed up or slow down the video. But this then transitions to the lab environments where we're going to begin validating those newfound skills. So our labs are unique to us for two big reasons. First, as you're about to see here in a second, our guided labs are completely text-based. So when changes come down the pipeline, for even if it's just a UI change, all we need to do is simply update a screenshot or the step-by-step instructions. The second piece that will make this so unique to us will be the fact that you are using Cloud Academy provided credentials to access a true environment. So no more surprise bills or having to pay extra, because this is all included in the price that you can see on our website. When I personally make my way through these learning paths, I like to go split screen, as you're seeing here. So all I need to do is copy and paste the username, followed by the password. I can hear me now. Oh, sorry about that. Had an audio issue here, folks. So all I was mentioning here is that we do bridge the connection between the lab environment and the console environment. So once the user has to complete something, they'll be able to run a validation check that will either confirm or deny if they were successful. What's important to note here is that this is what is feeding directly into that skill profile. So because we were unsuccessful, we would have seen this skill decrease. If we were successful, this would have been green, and we would have seen that skill increase. Now, the last piece that I'll leave you with regarding the end users are going to be the ongoing assessments. So they'll complete a variety of assessments throughout the learning path, but in particular, if we're talking about the final exam in a certification path, this exam will mirror the real world exam. So both in number of time and number of questions. We also have a very vast library of questions. So we highly encourage end users to take the assessment multiple times, even if they pass it the first couple of times. This will give them a better opportunity to be even better prepared for the real exam. Now, what you're seeing here is the ongoing assessment, but what makes this so unique to us here at Cloud Academy is that we have a very talented data science team that implemented an item response theory to this part of the platform. So what the item response theory tells us is that as we take 5 questions into account, if we got all 5 of them correct, the next set of 5 questions will see an increase in difficulty. If we didn't get a single one of them correct, then the next set will show a decrease in difficulty. In this fashion, we are continuously gauging exactly how those skills are growing through the assessments. We do encourage users to skip questions if they don't know the answer. All of us can get lucky and guess the correct answer once, but then the platform will assume a skill that they may not actually possess. However, one of the most valuable pieces is the after exam report. You'll get a very similar report after you complete a lab, but we're not only going to provide you the score, which of course I knew I wasn't going to do well, but further on down, you'll then get to see which skills were assessed, along with how your own score changed, and some calls to action if we want to either improve our scoring by taking a quiz or browse training to shore up that knowledge gap. And last, but certainly not least, we're not only providing the correct answers and an explanation to you, we're also linking to external documentation for further reading where appropriate. So that is the end user piece. The final piece, and I'll hopefully get you some time back here in your day, is going to be the customization piece. Absolutely everything that we've seen up until this point can be customized. The one thing that you don't see here are going to be assessments, but our customer success managers can help you customize assessments. This also includes the ability to customize our hands-on labs. So a very powerful, very popular area is the hands-on lab customization in the event that you want to customize a lab to mirror a real tech stack. So we'll be able to help you build that out so that your end users are getting true experience and setting some real expectations for what they'll see in their production environments. However, a more common use case might be that I want to upload a custom resource, perhaps a 10-page security document that I want all of my employees to read. As a side note, we can upload any flat file here. So this is going to include any custom resources like PDFs, PowerPoints, MP4s, MP3s. Once uploaded, we can then create questions against it, add them into a custom exam, and then throw all of that into a custom learning path. So I'll show you what it looks like when we customize a learning path. When you're customizing absolutely anything here, you're going to have two options. Either build it completely from scratch if you already have all of the appropriate documentation, or you can duplicate and then customize absolutely anything within our library. So previously we saw the learning path front end where we saw the title and the description and landing page description. As you're seeing here, all of that can be completely customized. Well, once I click next, now we're seeing all of the different steps that make up this learning path. So it's quite simple to remove any courses, labs, resources, exams that are not going to be relevant to our users because it's something that they're never going to experience or need. But then I can come to the bottom and add additional steps. So this includes uploading that resource we were talking about. We customized an exam that we want them to take to confirm that they read that resource. And of course, you worked with our team to build a custom lab. But once selected, you'll then be able to add those at the very bottom and simply drag to rearrange and ensure that this flow will make sense to your end users. Lastly, because we duplicated content, we're going to tell you which skills are aligned to that content. Based on what you added, you can add additional skills to be tracked. And on top of all of that, we can even help you customize the skills that you see on this list. So if you're wanting to track some business objectives or business skills unique to your organization, we can help you with that. And once I click on save, I am ready to decide if I can publish it or delete it, and then it will be available in the library. So thank you folks for sticking with me through that. Just as a recap, we walked through the administrative panel, seeing what it takes to get the platform up and running, the end user experience, and of course, the customization piece. I'll wait just a few seconds to see if there are any additional questions that are going to come in. There doesn't appear to be any additional questions. So the final thing that I'll leave you with is to please answer our end of webinar survey. We love getting any and all feedback. I say give us the good, the bad, and the ugly because we're always trying to improve. Here is my name and email in case anybody would like to reach out. So thank you very, very much for your time, and I look forward to hopefully hearing from you.